ISPaD Project board for accepting the paper proposal my colleague, Mr. Stefan, and I submitted. Then I'd like to thank SUNY Old Westbury for welcoming this conference as part of Panther Pride Week's activities, and for giving us regular workspace as well. Next, I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all of you who came and are supporting academic research in this front. And this actually leads me into the topic of this paper. If you weren't just like dragged along here by a family member, you came here because you found out about it somehow. But I want to ask you, but how? There's a very large chance that it was through what we are going to be referring to as social media. Social media encompasses a whole realm of platforms like Facebook and Twitter that are, in a sense, new channels for communication. Beyond direct mail, websites, and email, there's a plethora of different social media outlets available. And for nonprofits, there's sites like Pinterest that focus on communicating with your donors and telling the story of your work and raising funds. So there's a plethora of social media outlets out there. Which ones does your nonprofit or cause use? Shadid and I would love to answer that, but we can't. After attending several conferences and workshops about successful utilization of the new social media available to nonprofits, one message basically has come through to me, and that's it's actually more of a modification of a specific perception of mine than a message. I now always perceive the nonprofit as an individual who's attempting to meet someone else for the first time and make a good impression. It's on a date, on an interview, whatever the case may be, but it's an individual. And everywhere you look for advice, I've seemed to have found that there's almost a universal notion that we have X number of seconds or minutes or whatever to make a lasting impression when you meet someone. So wearing your lucky suit as you type an email or tweet, it probably has less of an impact than before the spread of social media. So then I'm facing the rather overwhelming task of figuring out what the, quote, best sites there are on the internet for the purposes of social networking, specifically for PNPs and NGOs. And as daunting as it was when I initially looked at the number of sites I'd be filtering through and possibly recommending in this presentation to all of you, this paper kind of taught me that the whole concept of utilizing online social networks, it's nothing to be intimidated by as long as you can focus. But focus on what? That, in fact, is a question whose answer is probably peculiar to each individual nonprofit organization. Why? Well, it's actually pretty pointless, counterproductive, and even ridiculous to even attempt to use everything available nowadays at the click of a mouse. The numbers are staggering. I use the term counterproductive because there's the danger of stretching your organization too thin. It's imperative to work within the means of your individual organization. Social media has an inherent danger for nonprofits because what may seem like a simplification for us nonprofits is actually just an expansion of the number of people we can communicate with. And it must not be misconstrued as an easier way of making money, or raising money rather. And sorry, we still got to be working for that, those donations. If you're a nonprofit, I want you to remember that there's a group of people who signed up to receive your newsletters, like on Facebook or follow you on Twitter, but you just can't leave them hanging. Now that they've expressed interest, and hopefully you said hello and introduced your organization, your connection between your nonprofit and anyone who's interested in your nonprofit, it cannot be intermittent. It has to be something that's a flowing thing, that you don't just say hi once and walk off. You have to, and it also can't be generic. You can't just be sending them, hi, how are you doing? Send us money. And just think of it this way. Who would you be more likely to help out? A friend you regularly communicate with, or a passing acquaintance? We at the Indian Subcontinent Partition Project are meant to serve a certain purpose and target a certain population. And contrary to popular belief, we can't do everything, as much as we'd like to think we can. However, what we make sure to do is focus. We made a choice, and given our organization's purpose as well as our budget, staff's abilities, and interests, we decided to make Good Search, Facebook, and YouTube our primary social media engines. And ISPaD's research assistant and my good friend, Mr. Shadid Stefan, will now tell you all about that.
We started off with 5 key rules for success that we learned while advocating through social networking for ISPaD. Rule number 1 we learned was, you can't be boring. Don't be boring. I mean, this should be obvious to most people. However, we had to learn this the hard way ourselves. We learned this about transferring websites from our original ISPaD Project website called Bengali Victim Partition.org to a Facebook webpage. How that pretty webpage, a more pleasing webpage with a presentable format, actually appeals to more people and got more people interested. And through Facebook's own socialization network, people also able to link people that they knew that would like this. So instead of getting 1 or 2 supporters every week, and we able to handle a few more newsletters every month, we ended up getting hundreds and hundreds of supporters within a few months. Just because we changed the website to be more pleasing to the eye. Second thing we learned is not to come on too strong. A little can go a long way. A simple paragraph and a weekly reminder will show that you care. Being the weatherman can be the most boring job in the world. Everyone knows what the weather looks like. You go outside. Yeah, it's sunny, it's raining, it's nighttime, it's daytime. But when you're on the HBO, favorite sitcom, everyone wants to watch you sit down. Why? Because you make it interesting. At the same time, you're not overdoing it. Third rule that we learned is to be a good listener. Conversations are a two-way communication. Just don't give your audience a way to talk back. Listen to your fans and notice what they have to say. So when they make comments, message them back. So, what do you think about this? Engage in a conversation so they can learn more about your situation. And fourth rule, it's not all about you. It's true that everyone wants to talk about themselves, especially us donors and fundraising advocates. But showcase them as a part of your story. Share the impact and invite them to chime in with their own ideas and testimonials. You can be surprised how many people from around the world will testify to the problem situation that they're dealing with that are very similar to yours. And fifth of all, be yourself. Your nonprofit should have a unique personality and a point of view. Expressing this when communicating with your supporters. It helps them get to know you better and set you apart from other organizations. Now, when it comes to social media sharing, especially through Facebook and YouTube, one thing we always try to give them is like a sneak peek of upcoming newsletter, an event or a program we have, like a conference event. Second thing you can do is also show what's behind the scenes at your office. Show them the work that you've done, all the paperwork, all the pamphlets you have to write up, all the actual work we've done. We're just not sitting down, just posting things on the website and hoping people donate money. And we introduce members of our staff. Tom Lilly, Dr. Dastidar Mr, Shuvo himself, everyone here that came to help, all the board members. We posted them on the website, we gave them a little profile, and we showed people that care, especially us, Westbury. And we also also always try to report the scene of our work from events. That's why we have our little video cameras right now. We're going to post them up hopefully within a few hours after the conference so everyone can hit the link and see the work that we've done together. Also, what we try to do is connect work to news or to a trend amendment. We try to correlate and coordinate our work together. So if we're advocating for Bengali, they have kind of service, like a situation that happened in Bengal, a situation that happened in Bengal, we can link that with our page. We can add on to that if we can get more people and more supporters in with us. We also like to share testimonials. We do this through YouTube as well. We have well over 100 videos right now. People from testimonials all around the world, but mostly people who are residents of the United States that testify what happened during the partition of India from 1947 up to present day. And we also try to choose a fan of the. We also try to do a little thing called a fan of the day, and where say someone has a birthday, and then we get a little testimonial. We'll ask them to send a picture, post it on our webpage. And we like to also celebrate the success stories of people who came from India, came from Bangladesh, who came from the Subcontinent, came from other parts of the world where they had to struggle to get over here to the United States to make a living. So we like to share the stories with everyone else too as well.
So I knew that when we were going to be doing this presentation, you guys would be wondering why we're not showing something. If we're showing something about, if we're giving a paper about social media, why that little slide screen isn't down and we don't have our computer on showing you about it. It's because we actually need to tell you about it, and there's just so much out there. If you've got questions specific or particular to your own, you're probably better off looking it up rather than asking us. Because we, like I said, we don't have all the answers, and we're still struggling to find them out. We've done, I'd like to think, a good job. The profiles, it changes every day as to what we have to do and what we're doing, what we're using to find it. But you can donate money online, is what I'll say. There we go. That being said, there's a couple of points which I'd like to say. Just remember these key points. Always continue to find ways to provide value to your audience if you're a nonprofit. And I've said this before, and so is Shadid. There's no one-size-fits-all approach in social media. Your outreach should be reflected in your culture and your needs. And then talk less about your organization and statistics and more about your impact, the people you serve and those who make it possible. And then don't be afraid to show your personality by being creative, unique, or using humor, like I just tried to do. People want to interact with real people on social media, not faceless organizations. And then finally, if you've got a wife or husband, I'm sure you've heard this, but this holds true in social media. Learn by listening. That's the best way to find updates,